Hello, all, greetings. I am Gilles Mansillon. I come to you to continue the reading of my book. It is a rough translation. It will come into print with a little more refined, but it is right now I'm going back to my reading, a preview of it. It is chapter 3. It is called Beyond the Veils of Illusion, I Am. Chapter 3. To return to space and interdimensional travel, we must know that as a creation, we already have the ability and the right to space travel, even if the scientific community on the Earth have not yet caught up with this knowledge by creating extremely sophisticated machines such as spaceships, and so we have been educated to think of such things as somewhat impossible. Having learned the necessary techniques that allow me to travel freely in the universe, I have had the pleasure for many years to visit numerous places full of wonder and many marvelous dimensions of reality. During those many interdimensional journeys, my groups and myself have always been greeted as friends and with much kindness by highly intelligent beings. We have always been received by personalities who were always willing to share and to communicate with us important informations which always have had deep personal meanings and significations. At the beginning of this adventure, my intention was to learn to create short-form vehicle to discover new sciences, as I have noted previously. But I have soon realized that the people I was in contact with and those who were willing and ready to undertake such a journeys with me were more motivated by curiosity than anything else, and so this is the way that I chose to use to participate as a tourist rather than as a purely scientific pursuit. So that the direction I took to explore this creative process, and in doing so I began to understand the dynamism that makes this spiritual process work. I quickly understood that my aptitude to open my extrasensory senses, as well as my ability to harmonize my own energetic vibration to the dimension that were visited, would be essential, and that this process would open up to me progressively as I would become more and more interesting, as I would become more adept at it. I came to understand that in order to communicate efficiently in those dimensions, I would have to learn to develop more fully my visual and auditory senses, and that would not only increase my quality of life here on the earth, but also make me more free in my activities while visiting those other dimensions. In those interdimensional voyages, motion and communications are always commanded by thoughts. We will eventually learn to utilize almost exclusively as thoughts to act, because we will come to understand that we need to always find a way that has the maximum result in producing the least amount of effort possible, and that the mental action is the most direct form of action and the most powerful form of such a form of action once we become master at it. It is important to know that the universe is a mental creation, and that all is order in the universe. That is one of the most essential principles of philosophy of the ancient Greece. That principle of spirit dominating matter is also the first of the great principle of Hermetism, not number 31. Hermetism. It is a school of thought that presents a doctrine with 7 great principles of existence that was transmitted approximately 2000 years BC by Hermès Trismégiste, and was published in the Middle Ages under the name Corpus Hermeticum. A new presentation was made in the beginning of the 20th century under the name Kybalion. I return to my reading. So to return to my explanation of the initial phase of interdimensional travel, I began to practice this discipline with those people of my entourage who were willing and curious to undertake such a journey with me in order to have a test of the energy of the higher planes. The most visited sphere and dimensions are Mars, Venus, not number 32, Mercury, Chiron, Neptune, Pleiades, not number 33, Arcturus, not number 34, Sirius, etc. as well as some extraterrestrial starship passing through or in mission in our solar system, or other dimensions such as the fifth, the sixth, not number 35, or the seventh dimension, not number 36. Each of those planes or dimensions are absolutely unique, and each of us, when visiting them, will always have a very personal and different experience, even if there is a similarity in terms of vibrational frequency when we visit another planet or dimension in a group. The experience is always unique and always very personal. As you can imagine, when observing the richness of our world, each of those inhabited worlds is just as unique, rich and beautiful in its diversity as the Earth is. That being said, we must visit those planes of reality in the dimension that is presently dominant there, otherwise those worlds may appear to be empty or void of life. When we visit another world or dimension, it is wise to learn to specialize in the explorations of worlds and civilizations that are at least in the fifth dimension, because that is the guarantee that we will receive a knowledge or a wisdom that has true value and meaning for us. That being said, there are civilizations that exist in the higher planes of the fourth dimension that are fascinating and marvelous places to visit. We must note that if we are traveling through the process I am about to explain, for example in the fifth dimension, and that we are not ready to access that reality, we will then be led into a subplane of that dimension where we will be able to have a comfortable experience that will be adapted to our level of consciousness and vibration. I'll read the note. Note number 32, Venus. It is a magnificent planet that is a sister planet to the Earth, and that is also a great center of spiritual activity. It is the planet of love, and she is undergoing massive transformation of her physical aspect to regain an atmosphere that will be eventually compatible with biological life. She is probably the most important of all astrological influence, as she will be instrumental in activating the collective light body on the Earth and the holographic matrix of the fifth dimension on our planet. There is a portal that leads directly into the planet Venus that is located in the Mount Shasta in California. Note number 33, the Pleiades. It is an important stellar group that evolves around a central sun that is called Alcyone. It is the home of a great star nation. This stellar group is easily recognizable visually as it forms a group of 7 stars or star clouds in the Taurus constellation. We may say that they are our closer cousins, and so extraterrestrial cousins, and so it is then probably it will then be probably the ones that will be doing the first contact with humanity when the time comes. Note number 34, Arcturus. Arcturus is known as a brilliant gold and yellow star in the constellation of the Buddhist Buddhist constellation. We can say that the Arcturians are the guardians of the fifth dimension, although they reside collectively on a much higher level, essentially the 9th and 10th dimension. The Arcturians are all ascended beings and spiritual entities that are millions of years ahead of us. They are a model of Christic perfection and also some sort of future version of humanity. The Arcturian matrix is also the portals that the human soul must traverse after the death of their physical body. It is that same matrix that those who have had a near-death experience could see and feel before returning to their physical body on the Earth. Arcturus is also fundamental in the preparation to spiritual or non-physical entities before they come into a cycle of incarnation into the realm of physicality. The Arcturian system comprises 15 main planets and hundreds of moons, which are all inhabited. The Arcturians are great travelers and explorers, and they are specialists in the creation of sacred crystals such as those that were used on Atlantis. They are all benevolent beings, and they are often called to serve evolving world in their dimensional ascension, as well as we are preparing to do so. They have numerous vessels that possess a plethora of technologies of light, such as those that are specially adapted to respond to our deepest and most immediate needs. So, the note number 35, the sixth dimension. It is the dimension of the inner child. of the sacred fires, and the dimension where we become master of time and the harmonic light, to be able to live within different timelines simultaneously in a way that is perfectly harmonious and beyond all illusion. We must be well anchored within the light of the fifth dimension to access this plane of reality, otherwise it would not be possible for us to distinguish between our own dream and that of others, as well as to be able to remove all individual or collective illusions which may present themselves in that dimension. We need to attain a high level of purity and sincerity to engage in the multiple flow of the divine light of that dimension. It is also the domain of the sacred geometry, a reservoir of possibility and of probability for our future evolution that is, in its upper part, will open the door to the seventh dimension. Note number 36. The seventh dimension. It is the dimension of the ascended masters and also the apogee or apex of individual ascension. In this dimension, we no longer travel in the field of harmonic light of the sixth dimension, but we become the eye of God, anchored into the light of service of the collective we are connected to and to all life. It is the dimension that controls the cardiac pulse and leads the action of the heart. Once in that dimension, all spiritual teachings are fully integrated and the reality becomes perfectly fluid and marvelous. The upper part of that dimension gives us access to the portal of infinity in the lower part of the eighth dimension. I return to my reading. The time to create a short-form vehicle for such an initiation journey may be more or less rapid depending on the energy source that is used, the power of visualization, and the ability of each participant to get ready for the teletransportation. But in general, it does not take more than 10 or 15 minutes. That being said, it is a lot easier and faster when the vehicle is created from a place where the energy field is already powerful and active. Regardless if it is created from a natural or artificial source of energy, as long as it is structured to that effect, but it can also be improvised, as we will see it later on. After the takeoff, it often only requires a few minutes to arrive and to penetrate consciously the sphere we are seeking to explore or to receive the permission to access it. We must not forget that, with this process, even if a world is far away in terms of physical location, a short-form vehicle such as this is not limited in terms of velocity, also we are able to arrive at any given point without having to traverse the physical matrix of linear space. Once we arrive at our destination, if we have not determined to undertake a specific mission, I simply verify that all my groups are well connected to the energy of the dimension or of the world that we are visiting. Then I engage in my own exploration process, leaving them to their own adventure under the protection of their personal guides and the intelligences that inhabit those domains. The fact that we are able to travel in such a way is being facilitated by a complex system of interdimensional corridors, note number 37, and stargates, note number 38. Those stargates are being used by numerous civilizations who travel throughout the galaxy and in the universe. They are used by those who possess higher knowledge and technologies, as well as to travel within collective Merkaba or lightship that are sort of large cities and can be as big as a small planet. Interdimensional corridors. Those are gardens of energies that are the meeting point between the dimensions and of the beings that inhabit other dimensions of reality. Stargates. They are portals of energy that we can use to travel interdimensionally. They allow ships, groups, or individuals to travel from dimension to dimension and from planet to planet. We all possess a stargate at the center of our brain that is or will be activated and illuminated by the divine light. That will open a portal for us into other dimensions. We must note that there are also technology that are used to that effect, like those in the movie or the TV series of the same name. Those stargates that are in and around the Earth give access to numerous regions of the galaxy and our universe, and they are now being reprogrammed or reconfigured to prevent access from extraterrestrial visitors of lower frequency and who may have negative influence on our ascension process. It is more and more rare to see lower frequency extraterrestrial ships to venture into our solar system, because there are now a staggering number of ships and even entire fleets of ships that patrol our system, which are dedicated to the light. In looking towards the future, I can already sense that after the ascension, the magnetic field of the Earth will be such that only the vessels of the fifth dimension or above will be able to enter and to navigate the Earth's atmosphere. We may note that those targets are making traveling possible throughout the galaxy, but there are those that makes it possible to travel from one galaxy to another. We will soon be able to meet our space family and our spiritual family. After that reunion with our galactic family, we will receive many new technology that will help us restore our ecology and to accelerate our progress towards full consciousness. Among those fascinating technology that we will be provided with gracefully, we will be given primitive biological light ships similar to those that are used by the Federation. Those biological ships work from a zero-point energy field. Those are then able to travel interdimensionally and have a real artificial intelligence that will give us the ability to travel into the whole galaxy without having to sacrifice the time that is given to us in our corporal life just to travel to a nearby star. I rejoice from the fact of such event because the development of such a technology is one of the reasons that led me to undertake such initiation journey and creative adventure in the first place. I now feel the need to share a vision of the future before continuing with my initiation. At the beginning, it is going to become necessary to learn, to build, to maintain, and to use replication technology. It is a technology that allows one to transform the energy of light into consumer product, that will allow each and every human families to have free and instant access to all the necessary products, first necessity products such as water, food, clothing, etc. That technology will put a definitive end to poverty, and all will then learn to live in abundance rather than in lack. We will also be able to replace a communication technology by holographic communicator with universal translator. Our ways of transportation will be changed by air transport vehicles that are fast, safe, and silent, as well as to replace all nuclear reactors by zero-point generator or quantum generator, so that we may enjoy and benefit of having the access to energy that is free, abundant, natural, and healthy, and for all being all over the planet. In waiting for that to happen, it would be wise to replace our nuclear plant by geothermic, oceanothermic, or hydrothermic technology, and so that we can get rid of that sword of Damocles. Among the amazing technology that will be given to us and given and introduced to us in the near future, we can mention one that will give us the ability to view and review all events from the past. This technology will forever change our vision of history and will also resolve forever all false accusation of criminal case, because none will then be able to deny his or her participation or non-participation in such situation. That technology is fully reliable, and it will give us the ability to act and interact, as it will give us the ability to act and interact with the great cosmic library in order to read the Akashic records. Those new technology will come to help us to live in a more conscious and creative way, but will yet in the full respect of our health or the integrity of our physical body and of all life evolving on this magnificent planet. That will include the humans, the animals, the vegetables, the the minerals, the elementals, the divas, the diverse magic kingdom, nature spirits, and others. Although those technology based on zero-point energy will also come to replace our primitive technologies and make our life easier, we will come to understand that the most important of all changes and transformation, or the most important of changes, will be the transformation of our attitude and behaviors that will allow us to live more fully, more creatively, and more responsible lifestyle, so that we may enter into a higher realm of reality in a permanent way. Our situation is exceptional in the sense that we are destined to make our ascension with our physical body to become physical angels engaged to accomplishing, revealing, and manifesting the divine will in this material world. We will soon be free from many draconian laws that are still imposed upon us and that deprive us from our freedom. Once this awareness becomes integrated by the majority of human community, the citizens of the planet all the citizens of the planet will no longer be treated by their government as slaves or employees, and the function of imposition will be greatly reduced. We will also discover the teletransportation platforms that will be used to deliver material goods instantaneously around the world, and in urgency situation will permit humans to teleport themselves from one place to another in one instant. Through those new technology, we will shift our geographical model of society to a distributive model of society, and that will help us to eliminate the pollution and overloads of our road system and transportation channels. The transportation channels we are now using. We are about to learn that it is also possible to utilize our own personal power to move from one end of the planet to another in a way that is instantaneous and without the help of any external technologies. This power, as well as other just as marvelous, are attributes of our true nature. But we need to align our physical vehicle so that our physical brain may catch up with those new abilities and adapt itself to the new navigation system of the fifth dimension of our light body. It is no longer about following our physical body in its habits of the third dimension, but to educate it to follow its consciousness into ascension within the fifth dimension and beyond. If you are to decide to expand and develop your interdimensional travel potential, you must learn to project yourself consciously into the interdimensional corridors and in your world pyramid, not number 39, regularly to work in it. That will help you connect and communicate with your guides and your friends in the spirit world so that they may assist you to progressively accelerate your vibratory frequency. World pyramid, number 39. Those are celestial structure or ethereal structure that we go to communicate with our higher self. They are also a sort of cosmic bank where is recorded all our merits, our light, and our love. Every year, on the day of our birthday, God, the Creator, takes all of our good deeds, all of the light we have produced and communicated, all the loves we have shared, felt, and lived, and mix it up with His own love and His own light to distribute it into the world to make it progress. He blesses us in return with new understanding and new energies and new powers. They are ethereal or celestial stations that are connected to higher level pyramids and turn into a vast universal network that increase in capacity of service and function for us as we evolve towards more advanced and more spiritual sphere of consciousness. I turn to my reading. When speaking about raising our consciousness and vibration, we must note that the quality of our emotional experience at any given time gives us an idea of our vibrational frequency. We cannot enter into a higher dimension before ordering and cleaning up our thoughts or mental process. Because if we are not completely ready to enter into those higher realms, for example, if we are still harboring thoughts of wanting to see ourselves being rewarded for our merit, or to see those who have hurted us to be punished for such action, for in truth, all those experiences, whether they are perceived as positive and negative, are valuable teaching that allow us to grow and evolve. They are but mirror that we ourselves have created so that we may learn, grow, and evolve. In truth, we are all one, all is one. And it is only in the realm of illusions that we are separated entities, or experiencing separation from life. If we are not ready to live in the unity of life in the unconditional love of the fifth dimension, the light quota and the energy that we would receive when we access the fifth dimension would overwhelm us. This could be compared to plugging an electrical instrument of 110 volt into a 220 volt. So before we can make our ascension, we must free ourselves and transmute all thoughts, emotions, and energy of the lower frequency that we may be carrying with us for so many years or lifetime, so that we may find an harmonious resolution. Then we will be able to ascend naturally into a higher frequency of light. In order to progress rapidly, it is important to familiarize ourselves with the energy of love, light, and unity consciousness that are already present in and around us. We must learn and understand how to create a stable, enjoyable, and durable connection in our heart with our divine source. Then learn to integrate this love and life into all circumstances of our life. The secret to communicate with the world of spirit, and in order to progress rapidly is to live in our heart, and so we may listen and follow the voice that calls from the heart. In doing so, in practicing the law of one, the way of unconditional love, we become active and direct participant in the creation of direct participation in increasing our vibrational frequency, as well as the creation of the crystalline grid matrix of the fifth dimension on the earth. In due time, we will choose to abandon the third dimension as a dominant reality to continue our life in the higher light of the fifth dimension and beyond, because those dimensions are far more pleasant to live in. As I have already mentioned, we will soon achieve the frequency of the fifth dimension while conserving our physical body that will become crystalline. We will still be connected to the realm of matter, but we will no longer be dependent upon it for our survival. When I say we here, I speak for all those who have chosen the path of ascension, which is also the road to true happiness and freedom. No one can make that choice for us, and it is clear that all souls on the earth are not necessarily yet ready or willing to do so. The ascension of the physical body, the ascension of the physical world with all its population is in truth a very rare event, and it was mentioned that never in the history of our local universe such event has ever occurred previously. Our physical structure, the biological part of ourself, is being transformed day by day as the dormant part of our DNA are becoming activated or reactivated to become fully functional. The awakening of those more spiritual parts of ourselves will give us new powers and new bodily functions. We are moving from a carbon-based cellular structure to a silicon-based structure so that we may become galactic citizens at the end of that transmutation process. Our physical body are being crystallized and attuned so that they may integrate the more rapid light frequency of the fifth dimension with grace and ease. This transformation is correlative to the reconnection of the dormant function within our brain, so that it may eventually function in its optimal capacity. In the same token, our mental body will evolve beyond the duality polarity of the third and fourth dimension in order to find resolution and unity in the divine light of the fifth dimension. In the near future, we are going to be able to use those spiritual technology and learn to utilize those new powers such as telekinesis, levitation, remote viewing, biolocalization, as well as others such as teleportation and teletransportation, which will allow us to travel instantaneously with all the molecules that form our physical body from any one point of space to any other point, just as some shamans, not number 40s, are already doing. I'm going to read the notes of shaman. Personality that possess particular gifts that are connected to ancient tradition and spiritual practices. Those who have received those gifts are considered to be priests, sages, magicians, and healers by the civilization they belong to. Some shamans have had the power to take on the form of nature they encounter, as for example to travel using the form of a bird when they need to cover great distance on the earth. They can do that by the principle of spiritual transfer between their spirit and the spirit of the animal. Some shamans have been known to have the power to travel through time as well. Shamans have always been considered as wise guides by their community, such as in the Americas or Central Asia, and are indispensable members of their societies. This power or process of physical bilocalization to project ourselves horizontally through the physical space is an ability that the Atlantean priests were master of, but we had to give out or abandon the totality of our powers when we accepted to come into the cycle of duality approximately 12,500 years ago. It is probable that when we will be able to maintain a permanent presence into an eternal dimension of reality, that we may be excused from that physical world. But it is a personal decision, and everyone will have to make it for themselves. That being said, if we have chosen to participate in this planetary ascension, or that the mass ascension that will follow, so our individual presence and benevolent participation is extremely important. For now, as far as this introduction and presentation is concerned, in terms of this initiation, this information is intended to address human beings who are presently living in the third and fourth dimension, to allow them to travel, to understand, and to eventually integrate the fifth dimension as they may eventually accept and feel comfortable to choose that dimension of living reality, and eventually to become their dominant reality. Those initiation journeys must then be perceived at first as purely sensorial or extrasensorial, to be more exact. The dimensional transformation of the Earth's reality that we'll be discussing here is already happening on the inner plane and on an energetic level. It may sound incredible today, but it is an inevitable phase of evolution and a part of the future history of our planet, as it is also a natural aspect of all ascending species that all ascending species must pass through at some point in their eternal evolution. If we are not yet aware of that ascension process, it is simply because we are just arriving at that point of our evolution and because we have never passed through that experience before. To practice unconditional love in all situations of our life will allow us to establish right now anchoring point into the fifth dimension within our own consciousness, and will assist the planet in creating that collective higher matrix of light. That is just as vital for our own personal well-being as it is for our planet, because we have unfortunately damaged our physical reality to such an extent that it will require a full dedication of our collective energy to restore the natural equilibrium of the physical world if we seek to continue to exist in this material reality on the earth. That is to say, even with all the goodwill present at this time, it is going to take some time to clean up and restore the ecology of our world so that we may realign our planet to its original pristine state. That is, after we stop to use those present-day technology that have such a destructive effect on our physical body and our environment. Once peace will be established between all the nation states and that the restoration of the planet will be completed, we will seek to enrich ourselves spiritually, as to embellish all parts of the world so that we may enjoy it, and that within the respect of all living beings and the freedom, the freedom and right for everyone to live according to its will. Millions of advanced souls have chosen to incarnate at this time on the earth to guarantee the success of this mission, and this mission is about to be accomplished. In the case where a soul have already attained the ascension in a past life or incarnation, and so have found salvation previously, but still choose to come back here on the earth, then the way back into the light should not be so hard to follow, because on that level the knowledge and the wisdom of the soul is strong enough not to get lost in the futilities of material existence, and so to utilize this new life process as a platform or a springboard to propulse one's soul into ever greater frequency of light, and so to experience even more potential for your eternal evolution into ever increasing octave of divinity attainment. End of chapter 3. Thank you very much. I will return with chapter 4.